On Thursday, voters across England and Northern Ireland will be going to the polls in the local elections. And the way things are looking, it could be a difficult night for the Conservatives. The party's new deputy chair is Helen Whately, and she joins us on the show now. Thank you very much for being with us. So how long have you been in this job now?
A week or so, not very long.
Bit of a baptism of fire with the local elections next week. What would be a good night for the Conservatives?
I think there's no doubt that it's going to be a difficult night for us. The local elections are going to be difficult. They come for us at a time in the election cycle where this was always going to be difficult. So the seats that are up for election next week were the ones who were last elected in 2015, general election year. So that tends to boost turnout. It was also a good general election for us when we won a majority. So we were at a high point.
At the same time, though, it's not just because of the time in the election cycle that this is going to be difficult for the Conservatives, is it? I mean, Theresa May said consistently that we would be leaving the EU on the 29th of March, and we're still in.
You're absolutely right. And when I'm out on the doorstep, as I've clearly been doing a lot, I hear from time to time people saying, well, I'm really frustrated with politicians as a whole, actually, not just Conservatives, but politicians in general because of where we are with Brexit. What I say to them is, yes, I realise that. I realise how frustrated you are with Parliament. Actually, I'm frustrated too as an MP. But these are the local elections. So this is about who you're electing to be your local councillor, who you want to provide local services, who you think is going to do the best job for you, all those day-to-day things.
But it's also a chance to kick the government as well, isn't it?
So, but yes, so people do see it as an opportunity to kind of send a protest, send a message. So that could well hit the figures for us. But I mean, that's what I say. And I feel strongly for councillors and council candidates standing for election. It's really important to remind people that this is about your local services and who you want in local government.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those councillors, shall we? Because they're having a pretty difficult time of it. And one Conservative councillor telling the website Conservative Home things are extraordinarily bad. They've seriously considered stopping canvassing in case it does more harm than good. And then they went on to say over and over again, people are saying they will never vote Conservative again. I've been campaigning for several years now, and I've never encountered this pure rage on the doorstep before. I mean, have you seen some of that pure rage?
I think there is a lot of anger about. And I mean, you always have a mixed experience canvassing, and you have some people who always over the years would kind of shut the door and not want to talk to you. I feel there's more anger. I mean, we all can see there's more anger in politics than there was before. But on the other hand, there are still people who want to talk to us. I mean, just the other day, canvassing, for the first time ever, I got a hug and a kiss from a lady. But there are people who actually do...
Like that clarification.
No, just to be clear, it might be inappropriate otherwise. But actually, particularly when you focus and remind people, it's about the local
OK,
issues.
so what are your big flagship policies, your new policies that you've announced in the last week or so going into this local election?
Well, the thing I want to say is this is about local elections. It's about how your local councils deliver for you. So if you look at Conservative councils across the country, they're the ones that provide better value for money for the taxpayer, lower taxes. They're the ones who are better for recycling. Well, this is about the local government. So we can talk about national policies if you like, and we can talk, for instance, climate change is clearly very topical, and I'm keen to talk about that. But this is about what local councils will do for people.
The thing is, though, it's not that easy, is it, just to always split between national policies and local issues? I mean, the reason I ask this question is because Labour recently have been pumping out, it seems like a new policy every day, whether it's on SATs, whether it's on bus routes, whether it's on the environment. I mean, are you being outflanked here? Because I'm struggling to see the same amount of policy generation coming from your side.
So I know that Labour are pumping out... I've seen some of those policy announcements. So, of course, actually, that's about what they would like to do if they were in government, rather than a question about local government, which is what these elections are about.
But it matters locally. Bus services matter locally, don't they?
I completely agree. I mean, I really, they're things that I campaign about, feel very strongly about, for instance, schools, and actually would like to, if we're going to talk about schools, the fact that standards are going up in schools thanks to a Conservative government is a really, really important message to send out there. But, I mean, I'll also recognise that nationally we have been busy trying to do Brexit, and in the meantime, yes, policy work is going on, but there's only so much bandwidth. But I do think that this is a good moment to not be talking so much about Brexit and focus on what local councils do for people.
You've got the European elections as well, potentially. They're not definitely going to happen, but it does seem as if there's a very good chance that we might be fighting local elections as well. And they could be even worse, potentially, for the Conservative Party. I just want to show you, a recent poll of European Parliament voting intentions. You can see here, this is opinion research. The Brexit Party, astonishingly, given the fact that they're so new, top on 28% with Labour. The Conservatives down on 14% share of the vote. I mean, that looks quite worrying, doesn't it, for you?
Well, firstly, I hope that we don't have those European elections. And I think, and again, you hear that canvassing, people saying, why are we having these elections? We voted to leave. I really hope that we can avoid them by making sure that we get the withdrawal agreement through and we move on and we do Brexit. That is, for me, plan A. I'd much prefer that than having the European elections. But we do know that legally we had to actually get the process going. And yes, if they do happen, people, I think, are going to use them as a chance to say either I really wanted to leave and vote Nigel Farage, or I really want to stay. And actually, it does reflect the strong division in our country. I hope that we can move forwards and just get on and do Brexit, but a sensible, moderate, leaving with a deal Brexit.
Is Theresa May a problem now on the doorstep?
But actually, I'd say, on the contrary, more often what I've heard on the doorstep is people saying, wow, it must be really tough for the Prime Minister, and praising her for her resilience and her sticking at it and trying to get through and trying to bring MPs together and do Brexit. That's what I hear far more often than criticism.
I mean, do you think that she needs to set out a clearer timetable now for her resignation? What should it be?
I'm not sure that would be helpful. I think what matters is actually the timetable and doing Brexit. That's the number one thing that people are concerned about when we talk about the national agenda. And talking too much about the leadership and the dates, things like that, is a distraction. People don't want to see politicians, I don't think, talking about sort of party politics and who's in charge. They want us to see us firstly doing Brexit and then all the other national things that we care about, whether it's the housing situation from the video that you showed earlier.
I mean, do you think, what's your view? Because there seems to be a bit of a debate going on in the Conservative Party about what the Conservative Party should be, almost like a kind of existential debate. I mean, does it go down the David Cameron modernising wing? Does it go back to what many would see as its more traditional roots that many local councillors would prefer? I mean, where are you on this debate?
So I think, this is a conversation I really welcome, because the Conservative Party is a broad church. We don't all think the same things about everything. That's been quite clear in recent months. And so to renew this conversation as we go through Brexit, what does Britain look like after Brexit? What sort of country do we want to be? I think that's really, really important. I mean, I'd say I come from the modernising side of the party, and I love it when we talk about things like, I think public services are really important to talk to. My background was in healthcare, so talking about the NHS, talking about education, I feel strongly about these, but also talking about opportunities for a new generation, and also actually making the case for the important role that businesses and entrepreneurs play in our society. And actually, those both give a new generation opportunities and give us a strong economy to fund the public services that we care so much about. But this is a sort of conversation I want us to be able to have.
OK. A little bit earlier on the show, we spoke to Ian Blackford, the SNP, and he was explaining why he didn't want to be going to the state dinner that's been put on for Donald Trump. I just wanted to talk to you about it because you tweeted a picture a few years ago, didn't you, at Donald Trump's inauguration. I think we can see it. Very fetching hat.
Oh, that infamous picture, yeah.
Which got a bit of a response on social media. I mean, so what's going on? Are you a Trump fan?
Not particularly. I mean, I was asked to go along to the inauguration as a Conservative Party representative, and I thought, well, that will be an interesting thing to go along to and to see what the mood is in the US and actually to understand the feeling of why people voted for President Trump. And that was really, really interesting. I was sitting there at that inauguration next to people who voted for him and hearing about how they voted for him because they felt nobody was listening to them. And it was their protest. It was their way of wanting to get heard. Trump as an individual, I have more mixed feelings about, and I don't like some of the things that he said. But what I recognise overall is he is President of the United States of America. And we have to recognise the importance of that office, the importance of America as the country that we have such a strong relationship with, security relationship, trade relationship. And it's really important to have that good relationship. Also, to have conversations about things we care about, like climate change, and try and influence President Trump to do his part in that.
I mean, you used to be the Conservative Party Vice Chair for Women. You know, this is a man who described women as fat pigs and slobs and is facing harassment allegations. Is that where those mixed feelings come from?
I mean, so I'm still actually responsible for the women's brief. So, yes, I don't like some of the stuff he said about women. And I think that rhetoric is really, really unhelpful, wrong. It suggests an attitude towards women which I have no support for. So I don't like seeing that, and I want to continue in my role for women that I do in the party, making sure that we go in the right direction on women, having more women stand for election, for instance, and I'm continuing to do that in my new role as Deputy Chair.
OK, we're out of time. Helen Whately, thank you very much for being on the programme.